Okay, I want you to close your eyes for a second. Just picture this. It's a stage. It's October 2017. We're in Pattaya, Thailand. The air is, thick. It's humid.
I can already feel it.
Yeah, right. There are strobe lights just cutting through the dark. There's this heavy bass music that's just thumping in your chest. And there's a man in the center of the spotlight who is, well, he's practically vibrating with energy.
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about. The man, the myth, the living meme.
He grabs the microphone. He's sweating right through his suit. And he doesn't just speak to the crowd. He unleashes this guttural, cracking, high-pitched scream that I think is permanently burned into the auditory cortex of anyone who used the internet in 2017.
Wassa, 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 Bitconnect, CCT.
There it is.
It is iconic. I mean, it is arguably the most famous or maybe infamous soundbite in the entire history of the cryptocurrency industry. It's like the I have a dream speech of financial disasters.
That's the perfect way to put it. Because if you spend any time online, you've seen the remixes, you've seen the parodies, it's this moment of just pure, hilarious cringe.
It really is.
It's a bald guy from New York City just losing his absolute mind with excitement. But, and this is the pivot, this is the really important part for our deep dives today, when I look at that video now, I don't laugh.
No. And frankly, you shouldn't. It's not funny anymore.
Not at all, because that scream wasn't just some funny guy on a stage in Thailand. That scream was the sound of a financial catastrophe happening in real time. It was the sound of thousands and thousands of people about to lose their life savings.
That is the perfect way to frame it. It is so easy to get distracted by the spectacle, by the sheer absurdity of the presentation. But if you strip away the internet humor, if you get rid of the memes, what you are looking at is one of the most devastating financial frauds of the last decade.
And we are talking about staggering numbers here. This wasn't a small-time operation.
Oh, not at all. We are. The Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, they eventually put a number on it. They estimated the size of this fraud at around $2.4 billion.
Billion. With a B.
With a B. It's a number that's almost hard to comprehend.
It is honestly hard to reconcile those two things. The funny, screaming man from the meme, and a multi-billion-dollar federal crime. But that is exactly our mission for this deep dive. We are going to go behind the meme. We need to really understand how an open-source cryptocurrency, something that looked, legitimate on paper, morphed into a history-making Ponzi scheme.
And to do that, we have to look under the hood. We can't just say it was a scam and move on. We need to take apart the specific mechanics. We need to look at this so-called lending platform they built and the very mysterious trading bot that was supposed to be the engine of infinite wealth.
And we're going to trace that timeline from Bitconnect being a top 20 cryptocurrency, which is just wild to even think about now, all the way to a single day in January 2018 where it lost 92% of its value.
Just gone, evaporated.
Yeah. Our source material for this whole discussion is the comprehensive Wikipedia record. It covers the history, the collapse, the legal proceedings, and of course the cultural impact. It paints a very, very grim picture, honestly.
It really does. It serves as a masterclass in critical thinking, or maybe a masterclass in how easily critical thinking can be suspended when greed takes the wheel.
So let's start at the very beginning, before the scream, before the crash. If I was a crypto investor back in 2016 and I'm looking for the next big thing, what was Bitconnect? Because it wasn't just a website with a donate button, was it? It had a ticker symbol. It was on the charts.
Right, and that's a crucial point. Bitconnect, ticker symbol BCC, it launched around 2016. And this is vital to understanding how so many people fell for this. Bitconnect did a very, very good job of establishing what I call the veneer of legitimacy.
Meaning it looked like the real deal from the outside.
Exactly. It was presented as an open source cryptocurrency. Now, in the tech world, open source is usually a badge of honor. It implies transparency. It implies, here's our code, you can check it yourself, we have nothing to hide.
So they actually released the code for the coin itself. You could go on like a GitHub and see it.
Yes. The source material notes that it used a hybrid timestamping scheme. It was a mix of proof of stake and proof of work. These are legitimate, established consensus mechanisms.
Okay, let's pause there for a second. I don't want to get totally bogged down in the deep technical weeds, but for anyone listening who isn't, mining Bitcoin in their basement, what does that hybrid model actually mean? And why does that specific choice make it look so legitimate?
Sure. So proof of work is the model that Bitcoin uses. You have computers, we call them miners, burning a ton of electricity to solve these incredibly complex math problems. It's what secures the network and creates new coins. It's hard work, hence the name.
Right, that's the one everyone's heard of.
Then you have proof of stake. That's different. Instead of computational power, you validate transactions based on how many coins you already hold and are willing to stake as collateral. You have a stake in the network, so you earn interest for helping secure it. It's much more energy efficient.
And Bitconnect said they were using both of these.
They used a hybrid of both, and here's the kicker. Technologically, the coin itself, the BCC token, it actually functioned. It had a working blockchain. You could download a wallet. You could send BCC to me. I could receive it. It would confirm on the network.
So the car had an engine. It wasn't just a cardboard cutout of a car. It could actually drive down the road.
The car could drive. And that is precisely why it was so dangerous.
Right.
The problem wasn't the car. The problem was the dealership and the absolutely insane financing plan they were selling along with the car. The coin wasn't the product. The coin was just the poker chip for the casino they built on top of it.
Right, because nobody was just buying Bitconnect coin to, hold it in a wallet and look at it. They were buying it for the value proposition.
Correct. The core pitch of Bitconnect, the thing that drove the mania, was the lending platform. This was the hook. This was the whole game.
Okay, so walk me through the user experience here. It's the late 2017. I've got some Bitcoin, real, actual Bitcoin that I bought on a legitimate exchange.
Right.
I hear about Bitconnect. What do I do?
Okay, so step 1, you send your precious Bitcoin to the Bitconnect exchange, a one-way trip. Step 2, you use that Bitcoin to buy their proprietary Bitconnect coin, BCC. Now you are holding their chips.
Okay, so I've swapped my gold for their casino tokens. I'm in their ecosystem now.
Exactly. Now, step 3, and this is the crucial part, you lend those BCC tokens back to the platform. You lock them up, you freeze them for a set period. Maybe it's 120 days, maybe it's 299 days. It depended on how much capital you put in. You literally cannot touch that principal investment.
And in exchange for letting them hold my money hostage, what do I get?
In exchange, they promised you interest payments. But this wasn't just put it in a savings account for 0.5% a year interest. This is where the physics of finance just completely break down.
What kind of numbers are we talking about here? Because people were losing their minds over this.
The interest was calculated daily.
Daily. Not annually. Daily.
Daily. And the rates they were citing? The sources mentioned these impossibly high payouts. We are talking about an average of around 1% daily interest.
Okay, I want to stop here. I really want to dig into the math of 1% daily interest because I think our brains, we're wired for linear progression. We hear 1% and we think, oh, that's not much. That's a penny on the dollar.
We are terrible at intuitively understanding exponential math. It's a genuine blind spot for the human brain. We just can't process it.
I ran a quick calculation on this before we started just to see what that actually looks like in practice. Let's say I put $1,000 into this system. And let's be conservative. Let's say I just take the interest out every day and put it in my pocket. That's $10 a day.
Right.
365 days a year. That's $3,650 in the year. That's a 365% annual return, which is already insane.
That's already beating the greatest investors in human history by a factor of 10 or 20. But that's not what people did. That wasn't the real allure. They compounded it.
Right. They hit the little reinvest button on the dashboard.
Yeah.
So if you compound 1% daily, $1,000 becomes what at the end of year 1?
It creates a curve that goes vertical. If you reinvest every single day, that initial $1,000 becomes roughly $37,700 at the end of 1 year.
From $1,000 to over $37,000 in 12 months.
And people were seeing this on their dashboards. They were watching it happen.
What about 2 years? If you just let it ride for 2 years?
I'm glad you asked. It's roughly $1.4 million from a $1,000 investment.
Okay. That should be the red flag right there, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only red flag you need.
Yeah.
If you could turn $1,000 into over $1 million in 2 years with zero effort and zero risk, why would anyone work? Why would banks even exist?
That is the ultimate question. It defies the laws of thermodynamics in economics. Money cannot be created out of thin air at that rate. If you have a machine that prints money like that, you don't share it. You don't ask strangers on the internet for their $100 investments. You just run the machine yourself and become the richest person on earth in about 3 years.
But they had an answer for that, didn't they? They didn't just say, trust us, it's magic. They had a story, a secret sauce.
They did. And this is where we get to the infamous trading bot.
The magical money-printing trading bot.
The sources describe this as the most controversial and also the most essential piece of the whole fiction. The claim was that they had developed this proprietary volatility software.
Volatility software?
Yeah.
That sounds very technical.
Very Wall Street. It does. It sounds sophisticated. The pitch was this. Bitcoin is volatile. It goes up and down violently. Our bot trades that volatility. It buys low and sells high thousands of times a day, faster than a human ever could. And because the crypto market is so crazy, there is always profit to be made, regardless of whether the market is going up or down.
So it's the classic black box defense. Don't worry your pretty little head about how it works. It's a super secret algorithm. It's AI. It's too complicated for you to understand. Just look at the dashboard.
Exactly. It's a very common trope in financial fraud. You look at Bernie Madoff. He had a split-strike conversion strategy that nobody was ever allowed to see. In Bitconnect's case, the trading bot was the black box. You couldn't see the trades. You couldn't audit the code. You just saw a number on a screen saying, "Congratulations, you made $400 today."
And that number on the screen is a powerful drug.
It is a hallucinogen. When you log in every single morning and you see your balance growing like that, you stop asking questions. You stop wondering how it works, and you just get excited that it is working.
But I have to ask the obvious question. Was there a bot?
No. There was no bot. There was no volatility software. There was nothing.
So where was the money coming from? If I put in $1,000 and 6 months later I cash out $5,000, who paid me?
The person who joined the day after you, it was a textbook Ponzi scheme. The profits being paid out to the early investors were simply the principal deposits of the new investors.
I pay Paul with the money I just took from Peter.
Precisely. And this is why the structure had to include that aggressive multi-level marketing, or MLM, component. It wasn't just a feature. It was a requirement for survival.
Right, the referral bonuses.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense now.
A Ponzi scheme is like a shark. If it stops swimming, it dies. If new money stops flowing in, the whole thing collapses instantly because there is no underlying value generation. So they had to incentivize the users to become the sales force.
Which explains the whole YouTube phenomenon around Bitconnect. It wasn't just people sharing a cool investment tip. It was people actively trying to get their commission.
You had grandmothers, college students, random people recording videos in their cars, all shouting, "Join my team, use my link." They were weaponized promoters. The source mentions a tiered structure. If you bring in someone, you get a percentage of their deposit. If they bring in someone, you get a smaller percentage of that, and so on.
It turns the victims into the perpetrators, in a way.
It does. It's a very sinister mechanism. You aren't just losing your own money. You are actively encouraged to drag your friends and your family down with you. It spreads like a virus.
Now, I want to touch on one other mechanism that I found really interesting in the research, the liquidity trap. Because they didn't pay you in Bitcoin and they didn't pay you in dollars.
This is subtle, but it's the absolute key to how they kept the illusion going for as long as they did. When your dashboard said you earned interest, it showed that value in US dollars. You earned $50, but you couldn't withdraw dollars.
So I have a number on a screen that says $50. How do I turn that into something I can buy groceries with?
Well, first, you have to convert that $50 balance into BCC, the Bitconnect coin, at whatever the current market rate was. Then you have to take that BCC and sell it on their own internal exchange for Bitcoin. And then you could finally move the Bitcoin to an external exchange and cash out to your bank.
So to get your profits out, you have to first buy their coin.
Yes. The liquidity of the BCC cryptocurrency was effectively funding users' ability to exchange their earnings. As long as new people were buying BCC to get into the lending program to start their loans, the price of BCC kept going up.
Wow. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The scam itself creates the demand for the token, which artificially inflates the price of the token, which in turn makes the scam look even more successful and legitimate.
It's a perfect circle of fraud, until the music stops.
And the music started to get a little dissonant towards the end of 2017. Which brings us to the next section of our outline. The walls close in. Because you can't run a multi-billion-dollar fraud this loudly forever without someone, somewhere, noticing.
No, you cannot, especially not when you're holding massive conferences in Thailand and screaming about it on YouTube. The first major blow came from the United Kingdom. On November 7th, 2017, the UK Registrar of Companies issued a strike-off notice.
A strike-off notice? That sounds pretty serious. What does that mean in practice?
It's basically the government saying, "We don't think you're a real company. You have 2 months to prove your legitimacy, to show us your books, or we are forcibly dissolving you and seizing any assets we can find in our jurisdiction."
2 months? That is a ticking clock. That must have set off alarm bells everywhere.
It should have. But here is the fascinating and terrifying thing about crowd psychology. The UK warning comes out in November, but the price of Bitconnect didn't crash. In fact, it kept going up.
Wait, really? The government of a major Western country says this looks fake, and people just kept buying.
Not only did they keep buying, the price of the BCC coin hit its all-time high in December of 2017, a full month after the UK warning. It reached nearly $463 per coin.
That is just wild. It's like standing on the deck of the Titanic, seeing the iceberg dead ahead, and deciding to buy an upgrade to a better cabin.
And greed is a powerful blinder. And you have to remember the context. The crypto market as a whole was in an absolute frenzy in late 2017. Bitcoin was rocketing towards $20,000 for the first time. People felt invincible. They dismissed the UK warning as FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Right, the classic crypto excuse.
They said the government just doesn't understand the tech. They're old, they're slow.
They don't understand the magic of the bot.
Exactly. But then the United States got involved, and when U.S. regulators decide to step in, things tend to move a lot faster.
And specifically, the great state of Texas got involved.
January 3rd, 2018. This is the critical date. This is the beginning of the end. The Texas State Securities Board issued an emergency cease-and-desist order.
And Texas doesn't really mince words, do they?
They do not. They didn't just say, this looks suspicious. They explicitly called it a Ponzi scheme. They cited failings in transparency regarding how user earnings were generated. They said the statements being made by promoters were materially misleading. And most importantly, they pointed out that Bitconnect was not registered to sell securities.
Which is a huge deal. If you're selling an investment that pays people interest, that's a security. You have to register with the SEC or state boards. You can't just operate in the shadows like that.
Exactly. And almost simultaneously, the North Carolina Secretary of State Securities Division issued their own warning for the same reason. So now you have pressure mounting from two major U.S. jurisdictions on top of the ticking clock from the UK.
It's early January 2018. The UK deadline is looming. Texas is saying stop immediately. North Carolina is saying stop immediately. The pressure inside that organization must have been immense. They knew there was no trading bot to show the regulators. The game was up.
And that leads us directly to the collapse, and it happened very, very quickly.
So walk us through those few days in mid-January, because this wasn't a slow decline. This was a cliff dive.
January 16th and 17th, 2018, the Bitconnect administrators posted an announcement on their website. They were closing the earning platform and the cryptocurrency exchange operation. Effective immediately.
Just like that, flipping a switch and pulling the plug.
Pulling the plug. They cited the bad press and the regulatory pressure from Texas and North Carolina as the reasons. They effectively tried to frame it as, the mean old government is making us close our wonderful lending platform. Sorry, guys.
But wait a minute. If they close the platform, what happens to all the money people had loaned them? All that Bitcoin that people had locked up for 299 days? That's billions of dollars.
Yes. This brings us to the refund, and I want you to hear the huge air quotes around that word. Bitconnect announced they would refund all outstanding loans.
Okay, that sounds fair. I mean, if I gave them $10,000 worth of Bitcoin and they give me $10,000 back, then no harm, no foul, right?
It sounds fair until you look at how they did it. This is the final, brutal exit scam mechanism, and it is diabolically clever. They didn't give people back the Bitcoin they had originally invested. They calculated the dollar value of your loan at that moment. So let's say you had a $10,000 active loan on the platform.
Okay, my dashboard says I have a balance of $10,000.
They paid you back that $10,000 in their own coin, BCC.
Okay, I'm still following, but I'm getting a bad feeling about this.
You should. Here is the catch. They determined the exchange rate. They valued the BCC they were giving you at roughly $363.62 per coin, which was the market average over the last few days before they announced the closure.
So they give me roughly 27 BCC coins, and they say, here you go, these are worth $10,000, good luck to you.
Exactly. But now imagine the situation. Every single user on the platform has just received their entire refund in BCC at the exact same moment. The platform is closing. The news is out everywhere that it's a scam. What does every single person on Earth try to do with those coins?
They sell. Instantly. Everyone hits sell at the same time.
It's a bank run on a global scale. It's a panic sale of epic proportions. Millions of coins hit the open market instantly. And who is on the other side of that trade? Who is buying?
Nobody. Absolutely nobody.
Nobody. The demand drops to zero. The supply shoots to infinity. The price crashed 92% almost immediately.
Oh my God. So I'm saying they're holding these 27 coins that they told me were worth $10,000. But 5 minutes later, they are trading on other exchanges for...
What? $30, then
Yeah.
$20, then eventually less than $1.
So my $10,000 refund is actually worth maybe $100 by the time I can even sell it.
If you're lucky, correct. And the Bitconnect founders walk away clean technically. They can throw their hands up and say, hey, we refunded everyone. We gave you the coins. It's not our fault the market crashed afterwards.
It's the most malicious form of compliance I've ever heard of. They wiped out the massive liability of the system while leaving the investors holding an empty bag.
It effectively transferred all the remaining wealth from the users to the creators in one final devastating stroke. The internal exchange liquidity collapsed completely. It was over.
And that is the moment the scream from the meme turned into a genuine cry for help from thousands of people.
Indeed. It was absolute devastation. The source material is grim. There were suicide hotline numbers pinned to the top of the Bitconnect subreddits. People lost homes. They lost their college funds. They lost their entire retirement savings.
So who is pulling the strings? You don't build a $2.4 billion fraud by accident. Who are the architects here?
The structure was intentionally opaque and anonymous. That's the nature of these crypto crimes. But legal investigations over the last few years have managed to bring some names to light. The man identified as the founder, the original author of the code, is an Indian national named Satish Kumbhani.
Satish Kumbhani.
For a long time, he was a ghost, a name in a white paper. But in February 2022, the U.S. Department of Justice finally unsealed an indictment against him for money laundering, wire fraud, and operating an unlicensed money-transmitting business.
So has he been arrested? Is he in custody?
His whereabouts have been complicated, let's say. The pursuit of international crypto criminals is always difficult. But legally speaking, he is the head of the snake.
But he couldn't have done it alone. We talked about that huge MLM structure. You need promoters. You need faces for the operation.
Yes. And the biggest promoter in the United States, the guy at the very top of the pyramid here, was a man named Glenn Arcaro.
Glenn Arcaro.
He served as the lead national promoter from August 2017 to January 2018, right during the peak of the mania. He created a company with the very subtle name Future Money Ltd.
Future Money. A little on the nose, isn't it?
Just a bit. It worked, though. He used this entity to lure investors into the Bitconnect lending program. He was the one organizing the big conferences, making the slick promotional videos. But unlike Kumbhani, Arcaro faced the music relatively quickly. On September 1st, 2021, he pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud.
And what were the penalties for him?
They were significant. He was ordered to pay $17 million in restitution to about 800 identified victims.
Yeah.
And he agreed to forfeit $24 million in assets.
$24 million. That's a lot of money to forfeit. It just shows you how much he personally was skimming off the top. If one promoter has $24 million just lying around.
It gives you a sense of the scale of the cash flow, yes. And then there's the international connection. We have Devesh Darji, who was the India region leader. He was arrested in Delhi in August of 2018.
And the sources mentioned something really interesting about him. A potential connection to something called black money in India.
Yes. This connects to a broader economic event in India at the time demonetization. The Indian government had suddenly banned certain high-value currency notes to crack down on the shadow economy and illicit cash hoards.
Right, I remember that. It caused chaos. People were scrambling to figure out what to do with their stacks of untaxed cash.
Exactly. And there is a strong suspicion among Indian authorities that Darji and Bitconnect were involved in laundering this black money through the crypto platform. The pitch would have been, give us your soon-to-be worthless cash, we'll give you digital Bitconnect coins. It's a perfect laundromat.
So it wasn't just a simple Ponzi scheme. It was potentially a massive money laundering operation for criminal cash as well.
That is the allegation. And remarkably, after being arrested for Bitconnect, Darji was later arrested in connection with another very similar scam called Regal Coin.
You're kidding me. He got out and just did it again.
It appears so. It speaks to the serial nature of these frauds. Once you have the playbook, you just change the logo, change the name of the coin, and run the same scam all over again on a new group of victims.
That's depressing. Now, before we get to the final legal cleanup, we have to talk about the event, the meme. We touched on it in the intro, but we need to go deeper, because I think that one event explains the psychology of the scam better than any financial chart ever could.
The first, and as it turns out, the only Bitconnect annual ceremony. Pattaya, Thailand, October 28th, 2017.
Right at the peak of the hype.
Yeah.
Just a few short months before the entire thing imploded.
They rent out this massive, flashy venue. It's pure spectacle. There are lasers, dancers, awards ceremonies where they give out these giant, oversized checks to the top promoters. It's designed to look like a celebration of success. And then Carlos Matos takes the stage.
Carlos Matos from New York City.
He's an investor. It's important to note he's not a founder. He's not one of the architects of the scam. He's a user, and he is. Well, exuberant is the word you used.
That is a very polite word for what we witnessed.
He gives this testimonial that is just pure, unadulterated, raw energy. I am so excited. He's talking about how his wife didn't believe in him, how she kept telling him it was a scam. No, 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 he says. And now he's making so much money.
And then comes the scream, Bitconnect's CCT.
He screams it in different registers. He growls it. He shrieks it. It's this primal release of financial validation. He feels like he's proven everyone wrong.
I've watched that video so many times. And looking back now, knowing everything we know, it's genuinely eerie. It doesn't look like a financial conference. It feels like a religious revival meeting. It feels like a cult.
It absolutely does. And that is a key insight. The community aspect of these schemes is incredibly powerful. When you are in that room in Thailand, surrounded by thousands of other people who are all getting rich, all screaming the name of the company, doubt just evaporates.
It suppresses your critical thinking. Your brain says, if all these people are happy and successful, surely I'm the one who's wrong to be suspicious.
Exactly. It's social proof, weaponized. The meme itself, you mentioned it, was profiled by John Oliver, by Keegan-Michael Key. It became a global joke. But as an expert looking at market psychology, that video serves as a historical document of irrational exuberance. It is what a financial bubble looks like in human form.
It's the visual representation of the absolute peak, right before the fall.
Yes. When you see that level of blind, screaming fanaticism for a financial product, when people are chanting the name of an asset class like it's a deity, run.
Run fast.
Run very, very fast in the other direction.
So the party ended. The music stopped. The scream faded. And then came the lawyers. This brings us to Section 7, the legal fallout. The bill comes due. We mentioned that $2.4 billion figure from the SEC.
Yes. In September 2021, the SEC officially sued Bitconnect, Kumbhani, and Arcaro. They alleged that they defrauded U.S. investors of a total of $2.4 billion. It's one of the largest crypto-related frauds they've ever prosecuted.
It's just a staggering number. And the civil actions, the class action lawsuits from investors, they started pretty much immediately after the collapse, right?
Right. January 31st, 2018. A temporary restraining order was issued to freeze their assets. But here's the problem. Freezing assets implies that you can actually find the assets.
And let me guess, the money was long gone.
Well, not just that. It was a structural problem. Bitconnect, as a corporate entity, never actually existed.
Wait, what do you mean?
It was a decentralized structure by design. There wasn't a Bitconnect Inc. headquarters in a skyscraper in New York that the FBI could raid. There were no filing cabinets full of documents. There was no central server farm.
It was just a distributed network of code and anonymous crypto wallets scattered all over the world.
This made locating and seizing assets incredibly difficult. The court ordered the disclosure of wallet addresses and the identities of the people who controlled them, but you are literally chasing ghosts on the blockchain. Funds can be tumbled, mixed, and moved across international borders in seconds with no paper trail.
This is the dark side of decentralization that people don't often talk about. It can be used as a shield for crime.
Precisely. It turns the legal process into a very slow and expensive game of whack-a-mole. However, the legal system is persistent. We saw the criminal actions against Arcaro result in a conviction, and more recently, on January 12, 2023, a federal court in San Diego ordered a restitution distribution.
So victims are actually getting some money back.
Some victims, yes. About 800 of them qualified for this specific distribution of funds seized from Glenn Arcaro. The total amount being distributed, $17 million.
$17 million.
Correct.
Out of an estimated $2.4 billion in losses.
It is less than 1%. It is a drop in the ocean.
That is just heartbreaking.
It is, and that is the ultimate tragedy of these schemes. Once the money enters the crypto ecosystem and gets properly washed and distributed, it is incredibly, almost impossibly hard to get back. Most of that $2.4 billion is likely gone, forever spent on luxury cars and mansions, hitting in untraceable cold storage wallets, or simply lost to the volatility of the crypto market itself.
So let's zoom out. We've gone through this whole sordid tale. We've looked at the tech, the scam, the people, the meme, If we step back and look at the whole picture,
Yeah.
what is the big takeaway here?
The summary is painfully clear. Bitconnect was a classic, old-fashioned Ponzi scheme dressed up in modern, complicated blockchain terminology. It used the complexity and the hype around crypto words like blockchain, trading bots, volatility software, proof of stake, to hide a simple mechanism that Charles Ponzi would have recognized in 1920.
He had promised 1% daily returns, which we've established is mathematically impossible and unsustainable.
And it collapsed the very moment any kind of real regulatory scrutiny appeared. The magical bot couldn't survive a cease-and-desist letter because the bot never existed in the first place.
You know, it's easy to look back now with the benefit of hindsight and say, how could people be so stupid? But I think that's unfair.
Yeah.
I think that misses the point of how seductive these things are.
It is extremely unfair. These schemes are designed to bypass our logic centers. They don't target our intellect. They target our hope. They target our greed. And they create a powerful community like that event in Thailand that reinforces the lie. They make you feel like you are part of a special club, a revolution.
I keep thinking about Carlos Matos on that stage. He wasn't one of the core scammers. He was a victim who became a promoter because he truly believed it. He was a true believer, and there were thousands like him.
And he represents thousands of others who weren't on a stage but felt the exact same way. They desperately wanted to believe there was a shortcut to financial freedom, and Bitconnect sold them that dream.
So for you, for our listeners, the ultimate lesson is what?
The lesson is absolute radical skepticism. If someone, anyone, promises you guaranteed returns, especially anything approaching 1% a day, it is a scam. Full stop. There is no software, no AI, no quantum computer that can guarantee profit in a volatile market. The fundamental principle is this. If it sounds too good to be true, it is, every single time.
The technology changes, but the scam remains the same.
Exactly. Today it's a crypto trading bot. Tomorrow it might be an AI-driven real estate fund. The day after that, it might be asteroid mining rights.
Yep.
The pitch changes, but the underlying Ponzi math does not.
That's a sobering thought.
Yeah.
I want to leave us with one final, slightly provocative thought to chew on. We mentioned Divya Starji, the guy from India, getting arrested for another scam called Regal Coin right after Bitconnect blew up.
Yes.
It's like a hydra, isn't it? You cut off one head and two more grow back in its place.
That is the unfortunate reality of the space.
Bitconnect is gone. The scream is now a joke on TikTok. But somewhere, right now, on a Telegram channel or a Discord server, there's a new version of this brewing, a new magic bot, a new revolutionary platform.
And people are putting their life savings into it right now as we speak.
Exactly. So the question that kind of keeps me up at night is this. What is the next Bitconnect that is operating right now that we just haven't identified yet?
And it should keep all of us up. Vigilance is the only real defense.
Well, on that cheerful note, I think we're going to wrap up this deep dive. Thank you for listening, and thanks for unpacking this absolute madness with me.
Always a pleasure, even when the topic is this dark.
Keep your wallet safe, everyone. We'll see you next time.